Well, Sasha, you were educated in which university, or?
I'm educated at the faculty of Ljubljana, but I did a lot of studies exchange during my studies, and I worked abroad after my studies as well. So I have done some experiences inside of Slovenia and outside of it.
You were working as a teacher, as an architect?
I'm an architect. I'm a freelance architect since my studies. I've always kept my status, a free one, but I collaborated with different groups, architects.
Outside Ljubljana, of course. Outside Slovenia?
Outside and inside. We also have an unofficial group that is called Odprti Krog, translated the Open Circle, which is partly also exhibiting in this year's Slovenian pavilion at the Biennale. One of the two teams next to the ambient team that is exhibiting this year.
And what other disciplines are involved? You were saying the Open Circle, which means any pigeon can fly in, or?
Yeah, we try to create an open field of communication between arts and sciences, between arts themselves, so we don't want to close architecture as one autonomous discipline that speaks for itself only, but we collaborate with painters, art historians, with sculptors and so on. It's very open. We do a lot of workshops in situ with small cities to the big cities and try to kind of create a living laboratory which is traveling through different cities and works and integrates the participation of people who live there also. We don't believe in this gap between, let's say, academic world and the reality that exists in space and time. So.
And you create workshops while you're working on a commission, or do you do it like in university that you just start a workshop because you think it's necessary for a certain site?
Yeah, different attitudes are there. We had to initiate the first ones ourselves, since the methodology that we in a way invented was not known. So we had to go to the places we knew, especially in the beginning it was that you could go somewhere where you knew somebody or you knew the place, and then you would get in touch with people and try to develop, let's say, a vision of development for a certain town. And then later, through years, after 10 years or something, we start to be invited as tutors to different, let's say, destinations here and there, and try to help it with this methodology and also with different other means. I was also tutoring at the European summer schools for architecture, which are happening every year during the summer for 2 weeks in different destinations. Between, I think, 1993 and 2003, I was Slovenian tutor, and we visited very different destinations. Students themselves organized the campuses, and each tutor was kind of leading a group that was involved in, let's say, a theme that was defined for a specific year, but inside of it you could choose your own theme and then develop it, and being either more theoretical or more practical. Some people just took their own worlds and problems to the site where this summer school was happening. We usually tried to first ponder into the reality, into the cultural context of the location where we worked, and then develop the ideas and the answers, the possible solutions from that cultural context. So it was exploring on one hand, traveling, respecting the differences, not bringing over the universal language of sameness all over the world, or Europe in that case.
But having worked so long in that method, you must have found out about a red line, some direction. You must have made some conclusions about the way you were working. What have you found out?
Yeah, on one hand, we could take a reference of Kenneth Frampton that is relatively old already, and some thing that have passed it already. It's the critical regionalism that he supported in, I think, in the late 80s and in the 90s, where he took Paul Ricoeur, the French philosopher, as a source when he's saying that the answers in the modern world, which is in crisis, have to be, I'm now interpreting it freely, has to be found between the answers of universal civilization and autonomous cultures. So if a country, or let's say third world countries, if we put it so, want to be developed, they have to become modern, but they also have to keep contacts with their sources. So it's an ambiguous situation in a way. It's a synthesis between old and new. It's not either only progressistic model where we try to be new and modern when, I don't know, only market society is ruling or globalization is ruling our spatial realm, but it has to be the awareness of where we start from, what are the roots of the culture we come from, which can be very different. So that's, let's say, a small theoretical background. The other methodological would be that, what I mentioned already before, that we shouldn't keep in our own offices at the tables or computers and try to develop the world as a projection from our minds or our computers, but really keep in touch with reality. Go there, explore it, work in situ, meet people, get in discussion with them, listen to them, but then answer professionally to that. And have a lot of exchange in terms of, usually we have a 1-week workshop, for instance, where we try to kind of arrange a holistic answer, a quick reading of the multi-layered reality of the space and time.
There you're mentioning two things. One is the Kenneth Frampton theory of, one could say, in short, globalism versus localism, the local culture versus the global development, the modernity versus the local culture. And on the other hand, you have found out a way of dealing with that. Yeah. You have to work out of your office, work with the people, make groups where people can join in and have a direct influence on the plans. And that both seems to me very 60s and 70s. And haven't we come a step further since then?
I think it's not really 60s. It's not...
no, I'm provoking you.
Okay, anyway, it's not either the local culture or the universal culture. I mentioned it is a synthesis of both of it. We have to, respect and take all the technical achievements that have been done, which are perfect in a way, the web connection of all the world, the information that is flowing in, but we are still not able to differentiate between the essential and not essential information we get. We are still not able, I don't speak now in first case, but the majority is not able to see what is actually really needed for a balanced living culture with all the ecological problems that are here now and which are different to the idealism of the 60s. Definitely we have nearly half a century has passed and the situation is much different. We don't need Platonic ideas which stay in books or which stay in the realm of academic world, but we need to act in the reality.